What's up? So this is one of those podcasts where I'm not sure I should be doing it. I'm really not sure because I haven't prepared. Because I really don't know the process about how going to even begin to hash out all the things that have been going through my mind lately, but not lately. For a while, I've had. Uh, let's start like this. Over the past decade, longer than a decade. And for a long time, I have been examining methodologies, instructors, systems, people relating to knife defense. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Let me just say, there's a lot of amazing people who teach what they believe to be the best approach to knife defense. um, and we'll leave it at that. They're really good, actually. And so that's part of the reason why I ask, is it even worth it? Yeah, for me to throw my hat in. What value can I possibly add? Sorry, I'm logging in. Wrong password. Jeez. There we go. Where was that? Yeah. So over the past, over 10 years, I've been studying, and the first. Let me plug this in. The first part of that, the first part of my journey was all observation, right? I was just watching what people did, and man, I made a lot of mistakes as far as expressing my opinions. And this is kind of why I'm hesitant right now to even share this with people, is because I've made the mistake of expressing my opinions prematurely before, during the observation and hypothetical part of my journey. And but that was really a great learning experience, because when I was less experienced, it's not even about experience. When I was less educated, when I was more susceptible to dogma and suggestion, I expressed my opinions relating to knife arts and knife defense based on how much I liked the person that was presenting it to me. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. Admittedly, that was a mistake. But as I began to transition into practice, I had a shift, and a part of that shift was understanding the mistakes that I made in blindly trusting things like, past experiences and the credibility of others, the popularity of others, um, and equated that with, you know, relevance or appropriateness when it comes to knife defense. What's up? What's up? So maybe I'll just begin. Maybe I'll just begin talking about what I think a good knife defense methodology ought to be. And again, guys, a part of this is because I was approached by somebody quite high profile in the self-defense world and in the MMA world. Somebody well connected, and they asked me to teach their guys. I mean, I've had requests just in the last week from uh, folks in Colombia and all over the United States about, hey, can you come to our school and teach? And I would say no, forget that. I don't want to teach anybody knife defense. I feel or I should say, I felt deeply unqualified to teach knife defense to anybody. I've not been stabbed. I've not stabbed anybody. I'm not a law enforcement guy. I'm just a civilian. In fact, just the other day, I got a message on Instagram from the head of an organization. It was like a Stop Asian Hate thing, and they were affiliated with the combatives group. They were asking me for my advice on, brands of knife that's appropriate for knife defense. I said, I have no brand preference. I have some criteria that I believe ought to be met when it comes to just choosing a defensive knife. So then I went and visited their combatives group, and the stuff that they were teaching to knife defense was like, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It really wasn't good. If I can say that, if I can be so bold as to say that the stuff they were teaching on knife defense wasn't good, but it really wasn't good. And then the more I looked around, I was like, man, there's a lot of people teaching knife defense that shouldn't really be teaching it. Who am I to say that? But sometimes it's apparent, you know what I'm saying? So I began to ask myself, hey, what can I contribute, you know? And so I began to examine the approaches of different people, and they're all very good. And guys, from the guys at the boudoir, the individuals there, to the TRICOM system and the different Filipino martial arts systems and the different combative systems and the different people that I've associated with, past and present, they all teach very good stuff. But I think where it might be, I don't even say where it might be lacking, but I believe where I can make a contribution is in the methodology part. So let me begin to hash this out. In any case, before I continue, yeah, I was approached by somebody to help codify, God, it sounds weird, my system. Before I even get into that, I really just want to thank everybody who has made a contribution to my own personal understanding of knife defense. And there's many people out there, and they range from folks I've spent a lot of time with to folks who may have just given me an afternoon that was illuminating. So I don't even want to begin naming individuals because it's a long list. And to be honest with you, that long list of inspirations when it comes to my personal approach to knife defense, sometimes the best lessons for me were like what not to do. And if there's an outcome to me codifying my approach to knife defense, learning what not to do, how not to do things is as valuable as picking up gems from people about what does work as far as methodology is concerned. So over the last couple of weeks, I started to write down in chunks the pillars of what my approach might be. It's based on my background in improv. So maybe you guys don't know this, but I was a Canadian national improv games champion. And if you don't know what, improv games are, maybe I can give you a quick rundown. It's essentially thinking on the spot, problem solving on the spot, storytelling on the spot, when you are free to explore, but given specific parameters. So I'll give you an example. It may be like, okay, the crowd says we're in a bowling alley. There is a pirate, and you have to resolve an issue with a pirate relating to shoe size. Go. And then you kind of hash out the potential relationship and explore the nuances of that scene, but based on specific limitations, but still having freedom. So that's the foundation of what I think my knife defense will be. It'll be based on limiting exploration to highlight specific training focuses, but still not being so rigid. If I may, thank you for being patient. Again, I'm hashing this out. A lot of people relate martial arts to a chess match, right? And then I want you to imagine for a moment a chess board at the very beginning of the game. So all your pawns are laid out in a specific configuration. Your rooks are at the corners. Your king and queen are next to each other, center of the board. You got your knights and your bishop and so on, right? And if fighting, if knife defense, if we can see it as a chess match, which we can, even though there are rules to the game, it's effectively infinite, right? But at that stage, it's still too broad. There are still too many things for somebody who you're supposed to be teaching something, right? To explore. So if I were to codify my knife defense approach, it wouldn't be from the starting point of the beginning of a chess match. It would be, I would arrange the pieces into a particular configuration so that we force a play towards an outcome. And it would be, okay, the board has been arranged in this way. You need to find me 3 ways to get to checkmate in 4 moves or 6 moves. So, that's how I would approach it. I'll give you another commonly used analogy when it comes to martial arts. People say there are many ways up the mountain, right? And so if you can imagine a mountain and then there's a flag on top of that mountain, and that flag is a successful knife defense outcome, it can be open and I can go to you, okay, well, make your way up there, right? Make your way up there, get to the flag, reach the successful knife defense outcome. All right, that's one way to approach it. I think that's a little bit too broad. And that approach is akin to, hey man, just go spar all the time, go pressure test all the time. Like, go just figure it out. Try to stab a friend and figure it out. Which is a great approach if you have great training partners and you have some idea as to where to begin. My approach would be something along the lines of, I still want you to imagine that mountain. I still want you to imagine that flag on top of the mountain. And that flag, when you reach it, is a successful knife defense outcome. I will say, well, there are 3 paths up that mountain. I know there are many more, but I'm giving you the option to choose one of these 3 paths up the mountain. Okay. Not only that, here are some tools. Here's an extra water bottle. Here's an axe. Here's a knife. Here's some rope. Here are some better hiking boots. I want you to choose 2 of those tools to bring with you, and you decide on a path. Okay? So that limits, that focus your approach to the top of this mountain a little bit more. And because you're limited to certain choices, you're able to learn not what all of these tools can possibly do, but what the combination of the 2 tools you've chosen, right? And maybe you go up that mountain and you choose path number 2 of 3, and halfway up there's an obstacle, and then you'll think like, I brought rope and a knife, but here I'm thinking I should have chosen the extra water bottle and the better hiking boots. And so we begin to repeat this process. I hope I'm not breaking up. It's breaking up in my ear here. Let me know if I'm breaking up. So then, in any case, this approach where you have the freedom to choose your path but given limited options, allows you to explore your personal limitations and your capabilities, and it'll allow you to not only understand what you're doing well, but what you can do better without necessitating the instructor to spoon feed you those answers. So it's a guided exploration based on frameworks, pathways, and reference points. The challenge for me now, if I were to codify this, is to find these meaningful starting points and to find meaningful modifiers, limiters, parameters, options, so that we can still have a proper learning environment where the instructor, me, would still have some degree of control over the general direction of travel, but no single student will be directed towards the exact same path of travel because there will always be choice. That sounds ideal, doesn't it? But how that I think everyone likes that idea, but codifying it effectively is the challenge, right? Because I see so many great instructors. I just saw one today and it was dealing with an index knife attack. So basically somebody has grabbed you and they're trying to stab you, right? And so the person first begins with a dichotomy. They're like, you have two choices here. You can deal with the knife or you can deal with a grab. I'm like, okay, great. Those are two great choices. I happen to think there's a third option, and that is immediate counter striking while providing obstructions to the path of knife travel. So basically, let me just break this down for you. When somebody's grabbed you and they're stabbing at you, I believe there are three paths up the mountain. First path is you deal with a grab, right? Second path up the mountain is you go for the knife immediately. I believe a third path is to provide an obstruction so that that knife doesn't contact vitals as you're counter striking, right? So there may be more, but I think those three are great paths up the mountain. What I'm not going to do is infuse where I think my preference is, which is I think what a lot of instructors do. It's like, yeah, there are these options, each have their pros and cons, but I think this path is safer. And I'll tell you why I don't want to do that is because each one of these paths have their own life to them. And how you navigate your way up that path to reach that flag, which represents a successful knife defense outcome, will depend upon the tools that you're carrying and your capabilities and your understanding of those tools. So there can never be a best option, right? So my goal, my job as an instructor isn't to tell you what I believe my best option is. I believe my goal is to present to you some options and guide you through understanding which may be the right option for you. Because the biases exist. The grapplers say don't strike, and the strikers say don't grapple. And the Filipino martial artists say one thing, and the combative guys say the other thing, as if they're speaking to a standardized audience, as if there can be an absolute. I just don't think that's the case. So, my approach will be in pointing out some paths of travel and guiding them through how to navigate through these choices by limiting their options and directing their choice towards understanding what they can and can't do right now. Because what I also believe is that, yeah, martial arts is a lifelong practice. Um, but I also believe that knife defense is an immediate and urgent need. So I think it's as important for people to understand right now what their best options are based on who they are, not based on what I think they ought to be doing. And so once they get that baseline, then I'll go direct them to that instructor and that instructor and that instructor. Or we keep playing games. We keep refining and we keep a pulse on how we're changing, how our capabilities are improving so that we make different choices. Maybe we're going to choose path 3 now and we're going to choose boots and a knife, whereas before we chose path 1 and we chose rope and a water bottle, right? I hope that's making sense. But this is a very, very, very difficult thing to scale. And this is where my over a decade of learning how to learn and observing how students receive instruction, I think this is where I have a pretty good edge, so to speak, because I think I can figure out a teaching methodology, and I think I'm well connected enough to be able to have meaningful test runs. Remember, we're test running the methodology. We're not test running the technique or the tactic. And this is where I kind of need some people's help. I need groups of small groups of individuals who will go, yeah, I'm willing to give you some feedback, and we are going to subscribe to your ideas temporarily. I'm not asking you to adopt these ideas. This is part of the laboratory, and this is what we do at the boudoir. And this is what a lot of people do. Let's be honest. A lot of people are out there pressure testing. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, pressure testing is highly biased. And sometimes people didn't even recognize how biased their pressure testing is. And so the one thing that I hope to never, ever, ever do is to impose the validity of my pressure testing as some sort of a shortcut for other people to go, well, Rubio and his group pressure tested it. That will never happen. You need guidance on how to pressure test. And I think where I can, again, provide value for study groups and individuals and instructors is, okay, show me footage of your pressure testing. And I'm an outsider, and I'll tell you where I think your artificialities and your biases may be. Like I'll show you where I think your blind spots are, because people are very quick to make conclusions based on their pressure testing. And I've not seen a real complete pressure test. Right. And so as we stack different kinds of quality controls and pressure tests, we can get closer to where our preferences might be. And therefore, when we have logical preferences, right, then we're better suited to navigate through subsequent training, because then we can be a little bit more focused. You know what I'm saying? But I think everyone out there who does their pressure tests, they're running biases. Some of them admit it, some of them don't. Some of them admit the limitations of pressure testing, and some people are just so like, oh, we pressure tested this, and Navy SEAL pressure tested it, and cop pressure tested it, and world champion pressure tested it, and therefore this is where we believe. So there's a certainty with a back door of maybe. I think those doors could be a little bit more open. Now the problem The problem with how I view my contributions to the codification of my knife defense methodology is that it's not going to be a very good business model. Hold on a second, guys. I'm gonna unplug this so I can plug my power. Give me 1 second and help me hold that thought. We're gonna talk about, once I do this, the problem with my methodology. Can you guys hear me? Are we back? I'm gonna tell you what I envision the big problem is. Oh, can you guys hear me okay? You guys still with me? I'm going to tell you where my thank you guys. I'm going to tell you the shortcoming immediately right off the bat, because if I do end up codifying this, if that person ends up helping me codify this knife defense system, it's going to be stolen because it's very easy to steal. Yeah. It's I'm not concerned with dangling a carrot in front of people's heads and be like, "Oh no, but there's more. You don't understand. There's level 5, there's level 13." If and when I codify this knife defense system, it will it almost should be open source because it's just as easily stolen anyway. There's not a thing about how I envision my knife defense process to be. There is no like curtain. There's no velvet rope. There is no locked door. Once people understand the just a handful of pillars, they're going to be empowered to just be like, why am I paying Rubio for this? I know what to do now. So that's the downfall. Is it's I don't think I can build a business behind it, because it's so, again, once you understand the concept, there's no reason, to stick with me. There really is no reason. I'll be honest with you. Maybe we can find a way, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that once I codify this and once I make the manifesto public, it's going to be like, well, people are just going to take it and run with it, which I honestly, I don't mind, I don't mind. I'm not trying to make a living with this. I just want to make a contribution, man. And I think I'm in a good position to make a legitimate contribution based on what I've done with my life, frig, man, for like over a decade. And, relatively speaking, that's not a long time, but, my passport is stacked with stamps to different countries, which has allowed me to have really cool conversations with people. And what I have is like, when FBI guys are trying to track down a serial killer and they have that elaborate web where they have strings connecting one point to another point to another point. It just looks like this web and everything goes back to the same 3 subjects. That's what I've been able to do. And I made all the mistakes. I made all of the mistakes. I've traveled all the paths. I've made all the mistakes. Believe me, all of it. This wall, I know this wall is blurred, but this wall is kind of a testament of not just the mistakes that I've made. Obviously not. Otherwise, they wouldn't be up on this wall. But they represent my journey. And I feel like at this point, there's really there's not a stone left unturned now. Like, what have I not explored? So So I think I'm finally ready. Well, I have been, to be honest. Man, I'll share with you something here. This page is called uh, Guidelines for Creating, Teaching, and Executing Drills, right? A lot of people in martial arts and in, combatives, whatever, they feel like they can't create their own drills for some reason. Like they're unqualified to create their own drills. Like only master can create drills, and or figurehead can create drills. Anybody can create drills. And so this next couple of pages is just based on empowering the student. It is a guideline for creating, teaching, and executing drills. What a weird way to start. It's based on something that uh, a a Green Beret shared with me, and a Green Beret instructor shared with me recently, and this helped me kind of focus. So it's based on these three pillars of task, purpose, and focus, right? Where we understand the task, we understand the purpose of these tasks, and here are ways to focus so that blah 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 blah. And it goes on, like, when drills either have a rolling start or a dynamic start. I don't believe in stop go drilling. I believe they're inefficient, and there's just way too much predictability in stop go. Like ready, set, I'm going to stab you. Like it's so we either have a dynamic start, which I got from Mick Coop, or we have a rolling start, which really I got from Jared Wihungi or Pikiti Tersha, or really even Filipino martial arts, where we use Hubad and Sabayan as a rolling start. Like these are predictable, choreographed motions, but then we pick a point to break it so that we aren't starting and stopping from, uh, a nature of being static. So we have rolling starts, we have dynamic starts, but never ever start and stops. Yeah. So, oh man, I'll share this with you. So let's talk about, again, we're talking about task, purpose, focus. So the task, these are the actions of the drill. These are the parameters, the modifiers, and the limiters of the drill. These are the objectives of successful revolutions and repetitions. That's what the task is. The purpose is the why, the whys of the drilling, the objectives of conducting the drill itself. Why are we doing this drill? And it is also, oh man, I can't hear myself. There we go. And the purpose also is about the skills that are meant to be developed. And then the focus relates to the details, the guidelines for success. And the focus is really where the teacher gets to shine. Because here are the actions of the drill, here's the purpose, here are the limiters, this is the skill you're meant to develop. And if you do those things blindly, you might end up, getting to the top. But a good instructor will help you focus. And focus could mean just slowing you down and giving you an awareness of the potential mistakes that you made. And by the way, if I were to teach, Filipino martial arts, so outside of knife defense, I had this idea about, if I were to teach Filipino martial arts, it would be like a multimedia experience, right? It would be like, okay, guys, I'm going to teach you this concept. I'm going to teach you gunting, right? I'm gonna teach you the 45-degree takeoff, or I'm gonna teach you this particular disarm. But first, before we get to that, let's watch a CCTV video, and then some videos of me executing them in sparring, and videos of people I know executing them in sparring, and then videos of me failing, and then maybe videos of others failing. We'll have a discussion about what caused successes and failures, and then together we'll start administering tasks based on the technique or the tactic that I want you to learn. Here's a task. Do this task. Do this now. Go ahead. Go. And then a reminder, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this particular task? Good, good, good. Right now, debrief. Where did you fail? What were your successes? Good. Let's bring that together, and then let's focus. Let's concentrate this thing that we're trying to learn so that it fits for you. What are you going to do better? What are you going to do better? What were the mistakes that you made? Okay, let's address those, right? Keep open communication. We're going to have a deep brief in 5 minutes. Explore. So that's how I would conduct my Filipino martial arts lessons. If I were to teach it, it would be based on that. Because first I got to get people to buy in. Like, let's. I'm trying to teach you a roof block or whatever. Let's figure out where the roof block fails first of all. So here are some videos of roof blocks failing. Here are some videos of roof blocks succeeding. Let's examine the before, during, and after. And then let's create a task that will be meaningful so that we can execute this. All right, boom. And then debrief, right? We remind ourselves of what the purpose is, of why we're learning this. And some people may have different answers. Why have we bought into this? Why do we think this roof block is important? Right? Maybe somebody is a law enforcement officer and they're like, I use a baton. The other one is like, hey, I spar Filipino martial arts, and the angle one is the most common. And then focus. So anyway, that's how I would teach Filipino martial arts. But back to knife defense. There's really good stuff in this. Good stuff in this notebook. Yeah, there's a bunch of games here. A bunch of yeah. Anyway, I'm enjoying the process of codifying. There's a few people helping me out. There's a lot of people that seem to be interested. Yeah. Thank you for the comments. Hello from Australia. What's up? What's up? Social proof is mofo when it comes to judging material. Yeah. It can blind us. Yeah. Social proof, man. Mr. Rogue Wolf. How was meeting Doug? It was good. It was awesome. I think you codify a testing approach to a given technique. I think so. The main component is to always be honest and truthful and respecting your results and willing to make those modifications. Yeah, there's another thing, man. Again, I was talking earlier about how quickly people are willing to accept the results and formulate conclusions based on their pressure testing, as if that's it. Like, we're done. No, I think that's going to be a tenet of my system, is to never trust the result of your pressure testing for too long. It needs to be conditional. It needs to have an expiration date. If your pressure testing you think is like some MRE, and then like you can eat that shit 100 years from now, that's a mistake. I think when somebody says, "Oh, we pressure tested this," the first question from your mind when they sound too confident would be, "How long ago? Who was there? And tell me the parameters of your pressure testing." I don't care who they are. That is the question. Those are the questions to be asked when somebody says, "Well, we pressure tested this." I'm like, okay, when, where, who was there? What was at stake? Right? A lot of people skew the results of their pressure testing based on their preconceived preferences and ideas of what would work, right? Like I said earlier, a grappler is going to prefer it when grappling wins in pressure testing, and they're going to compose pressure tests that
kind of skew the odds towards a positive grappling outcome. And that could have really detrimental consequences to somebody who has no grappling experience, man. Like, you're telling me I should be going for a 2-on-1 and a baseball bat grip, and I've got arthritis, like I type all day and I don't have a good solid grip. You're going to tell me like that's the best option for me right now? I don't think so, homie. Maybe you can give me some grip strength exercises to begin with, and then maybe you can teach me that option. But I believe that knife defense is an immediate, an urgent need. And so I don't believe that an instructor's first task ought to be, well, this is what I think works. It ought to be like, let's figure out where you suck first, and then let me give you some ideas on how to suck less at those so that my preferences become more valid to you. Otherwise, I'm fooling you. You know, if I have a preference that I think, the best option is to punch the guy in the face, but then I'm giving that advice to somebody who clearly has no punching power, I'm lying to them about what the best solution is. Does that make sense, you guys? Like, if I say like the best defense for XYZ is ABC, but then the attributes and the skills and the characteristics to execute ABC correctly just does not exist in the person that I'm trying to teach, then I'm trying to really push a square peg into a round hole. And that is still dishonest, I think. Now, do I think that there can be, especially given the nature of some training events, where it's like, well, I only got 4 hours with these people, Paula. Like, what do you expect me to do? And I think to a degree, some people have the ability to diagnose what their strengths and weaknesses are. So I think that's where I can be a little bit honest and go, you know what? I'm not right for you guys. I'm the diagnostics guy. Like, I'm not here to teach you like how to have the best 2-on-1. There's people out there that are just like, everyone's doing the 2-on-1 wrong and I'm doing the 2-on-1 right. And then there's arguments over inside line versus outside line, and it's just, it's good for us if we can listen to those kinds of people argue, but we need to understand who we are, what our capabilities are. Because the trouble is that they make a very sound and reasonable and logical argument, and we go, yeah, that person's right, the other person's wrong. But there can be a what you believe to be logically right and how well that person has expressed their thought, right? It may not be congruent with your capability. So while person A sounds right, it sounds intelligent, looks the part, for you, if you make the distinction that their intellectual disagreement, like you're going to choose a winner and then you're going to adopt whatever the winner is without understanding who you are and what your capabilities are and what your pre-existing, tendencies and preferences are, could be the wrong call for you. But we all got to start somewhere, right? Like, not every class is like this holistic sage, like we must understand the self. I get that. You got to teach something, right? You got to teach something. Um, yeah. So I think that's maybe where I can be of benefit to everybody, where I can continue to be authentic to myself and have a passport and be welcomed by different groups and not feel like I'm in competition with them. And if the figurehead of that group invites me to their training session for the purposes of, hey, Paulo, this is our closed knit group. We've been doing the same stuff for a really long time. We could use an outsider's perspective who can analyze what it is that we do and the belief that we have in those things. Maybe we can have a conversation afterwards about what your recommendations might be. Maybe that's what I do. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm like that bar rescue guy or like Chef Ramsay in like Kitchen Nightmares. Or it's like, the chef and the owner, like, oh, we were successful 10 years ago, and all of a sudden nobody comes into a restaurant. Maybe I come in and go, oh, you changed your head chef and he's a meth addict. Or, there's a restaurant offering the same things that you guys are offering next door, and they're serving up that dish better for cheaper. So maybe that's what I can do. Because then it's kind of authentic to what I've kind of been doing and the path that I've already been on, which is just like observing, you know, getting my tourist ticket to different worlds and then offering my opinions. But sometimes I have to be invited into the kitchen. I have to be invited with a task and a purpose and a focus to identify what could be going wrong in that kitchen. Because I think in the past I've been too quick to be like, I just walk in a restaurant and I'm like, your salad's shit and your bathroom stinks, and like I think that your wait staff are rude. And then while those things may be true, it's like the owner doesn't want to hear that, and certainly he doesn't want the other patrons hearing you say those things. So that maybe is, maybe that characterizes some of the mistakes that I've made in the past, and just being too quick to say things. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Thanks for joining. What's up, Jason? Sorry we didn't get to fight today, bro. My leg was just hurting. It was bad. Yeah. Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm experiencing like really bad sciatic pain all the way down my left side, my left leg. Two of my toes are numb. I can barely move. But when I pop an ibuprofen, I'm about 30 minutes after that to an hour, I got like a window. I got a window where like I can feel normal and I can move around. That's usually when I make my Instagram reels to share some of these ideas. And then I've not been getting very good sleep, and I'm just in constant pain. I'm starting physio next week, but there's just so much work to do, man. Anyway, Calisa Americano. So if it's about business, keep it secret. If it's about contributing, then just give it away. Yeah, I don't know. I want it to be a little bit of both. God, I want to make money teaching, knife defense and martial arts. I've always been open with that stuff, right? Like a lot of martial artists, like, I don't charge and blah blah blah. I'm like, bro, you should be charging, man. There's nothing wrong with monetizing your passion and your craft, especially if you can make a genuine contribution and a difference in people's lives. There's nothing wrong with getting paid. There's nothing wrong with sending an invoice. This isn't friggin' ancient China or Japan where you climb up the mountain and you fetch water at the river and you stoke the fire for the abbot or sensei, and then that's your repayment. And no, frig, man, get paid. Get paid. Why not? Some people want to say the truth. Other people want to live in fantasy. Those who are true are going to stay to it. I like fantasy too, man. And that's another thing that I think is really, really important, is accepting that some of your practices are closer to art, and really reaping the benefits of just enjoying. And I know some people are out there who are like, knife defense is serious. This is life and death. If you teach somebody the wrong thing, they could get themselves killed. And I'm just like, well, that's too bad, because I'm not adopting that responsibility. It's not up to me whether somebody lives or dies because they made the wrong choices in a particular situation that they've put themselves in, of which I have no control. I ain't looking to be their daddy. I'm not looking to be their father figure. I'm not looking to be their counselor, where I guide them to making like the correct life choices. No, that's not me, bro. I'm going to share some games. I'm going to share some drills. I'm going to share some ideas, right? But I can't control what this dude does with it. And this is why I think artful self-expression and just having fun and enjoying the process and being self-aware and delineating art from practicality, and knowing maybe that some practices are bridges to that, right? There's art, artful self-expression, right? And then there's pragmatic, practical, tactical, but there are some practices that are bridges to those two worlds, right? And then maybe I have some ideas about how sturdy this bridge is. It's a bridge. I know it's a bridge, but depending upon who you are and what you do, you decide how much weight you're willing to put on that bridge. Like the Sabayan drill, for example, is a great example of a bridge between art and practical. Depending on what you do with it, it could lean closer to practical, or it could just be pure friggin' art, right? You got to understand what this drill is, how you navigate around it, so that you can put the appropriate amount of weight. Because if you think that Sabayan is 100% practical and you're just doing it wrong and you decide to cross that bridge in the middle of a storm and it collapses on you, I'm sorry, man. You know, not my fault. I told you to friggin' test out the weight capacity of that bridge and fortify its anchor points and wrap more cord around the support and change some of the planks on that bridge. You didn't do those things. You just thought, okay, well, this bridge is sturdy. Not my fault, man. Sorry. That's the kind of instructor I want to be. I'm not here to empower people. I don't care about that shit. I'm not here to make you feel more confident. Sorry, man. That's not my job. What the hell? People want their martial arts instructors to be like their daddy, their uncle, their grandpa, their counselor, their doctor, their best buddy. No, not interested, bro. Not interested. Go find another best friend. Go find a mentor. I ain't that guy. I'm just like, here are some games you can play. Here are some paths to self-awareness so that you know how to learn better, so that the next time somebody tries to sell you some shit, you're better equipped to go, well, this guy's telling me that this bridge is sturdy and it can hold, but I'm not sure. That's what I want people to have the ability to do, is to just make these decisions for themselves and not be so easily fooled. Because damn it, I was fooled. You know what I mean? I've been fooled so many times. And to this day, I don't know if I'm fooling myself, right? I don't know. I'm I'm pretty sure it's solid. You know, I made so many mistakes in the past and I believed in things that, oh man. So I'm not gonna say this is the way and that's the way. I'm like, this is the path to explore and find out for yourself. It's not that there's a lot of dishonesty out there. It's just there's a lot of people selling their ego. A lot of people are selling their ego out there and they're wrapping it around techniques and tactics and methodologies. You know what I mean? I believe in the 2-on-1 and the bisecting line. I believe in tappy tappy and blah blah blah. And I think you should too. At that point, you're selling your ego, bro. You're not selling the concept. At the very least, you're not presenting the concept so that it's a set of Lego pieces and not this pre-built structure that you think everybody should build with those Lego pieces. Y'all feel me? You know what I'm saying? Again, it's not about empowerment, man. It's just about educating and leading people to a kind of self-awareness where they can enjoy, God forbid, God forbid we enjoy the knife defense process, right? Like, or stick fighting process, or just some people are just way too serious with this stuff, as if like they live in non-permissive environments in South America working for the cartel. Like, that's not your life. Jim from accounting, that's not your life. So yeah. Self-awareness is super super incredible, man. And it's a continual process. Honestly, I don't know how self-aware I am. I seem to know what I'm talking about. I don't know. Maybe. Always welcome down here in Georgia. Right on, man. Thank you. Yeah, one day, one day. So, but first, what I got to do is I got to make sure that I can actually step into a group of, 4 to 20 people. And I got to make sure that I can be effective in guiding them through this because I don't want to be some guru that just sits there and talks. You know what I mean? Because the whole idea is to give improv lessons. I want to teach people how to improvise and how to. Oh, and that's another thing. Like if I'm going to teach a Filipino martial arts course or anything like that, I think at the end of it, I prepare or my team prepares video footage for people to take home. I think that's really, really important. You know what I mean? Like you go to a seminar and you either film, you take notes, or you just rely on your own memory, or they sell you a copy of like the documentation of it, all good stuff. But you need video footage of your performance within that seminar because otherwise you're just left with an impression like, I did good, or I had fun, and oh, I learned a lot. But it's like, let's look at your performance for a minute. You sucked at that drill. You weren't optimizing what that drill was trying to teach you. So at the very least, if I have a course, you're going to have a video file of you sucking shit at something and with some guidance as to here's some ways to possibly improve upon that. A real take home. People are always talking about, if I go to a seminar, if I learn one thing, then it's worth it. I'm like, okay, fantastic, bro. But oftentimes people fool themselves into thinking that they've learned something or that they're taking something away, but without any sort of a guideline as to how to improve upon those things. You know what I'm saying? There was a guy on the Aperture Forum who went to a seminar and he's like, I was really impressed by the instructor's realism and blah, 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 blah. And it was awesome. I've been in the martial arts for 30 years. And this guy is really extraordinary. I'm like, okay, great. That seminar is designed to impress you. What did you actually learn? Couldn't answer the fucking question. They could not answer the question of what did you actually learn. They were just happy to go, I had a great time at this seminar. Oh, I'm not paid to say these things. I'm like, yeah, but you're in our forum and you're saying this dude was dope and that you were impressed and that you've been doing martial arts for 30 years. So therefore, it's kind of like an appeal to authority of the self. Like, oh, I've been doing martial arts for 30 years. And if this guy impressed me, it should impress all of you. I'm like, no, tell me what you learned. Tell me what you learned from it. Could not answer the question. He dropped off from the conversation. All I asked was like, what did you actually learn, bro? Couldn't answer it. Which brings me to another point, right? There's a lot of you guys who can kick my ass. A lot of you guys are going to really freaking kick my ass. It's real. It's true, man. And there's a lot of you guys who have way more experience than me, like actual real experience, like cops and soldiers with multiple deployments and old school Stockton guys and, in club enforcers in the 70s and 80s in New York. I don't mean to sound like I'm mocking. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of people who can kick my ass, who have way more experience, who are way more knowledgeable, way more skilled for sure. But I find myself, even in front of those people over the years, expressing to me that I've made a contribution. I've said something that made them think. I directed them into something that kind of changed a little bit their path. And the reason I'm saying this is because, that guy who's been doing martial arts for 30 years couldn't answer a simple question like, what did you learn? Can you share it? Can you tell us how we can improve upon that? Can you share with us how that could benefit us? So, yeah, club info. Yo, what's up? What's up, homie? Here's another thing. So bouncing, like doorman, bouncers. God, I'm gonna get in trouble. Okay. They're built different, but also like it depends where you are a bouncer at. You know what I mean? Like if you're jeez. I bounced for 10 years. I'm like, okay, tell me where, you know, be like, well, I was at a comedy club in Portland, Oregon. I'm like, okay, cool. That's good. That's good. You have to deal with some drunk hecklers once in a while. But if somebody was like, I was in a, I was a bouncer at a cowboy bar in the middle of buttfuck Alabama, I'd be like, yo, that's some shit, man. Or some guy who worked the door in like Berlin or Paris or Manila, be like, yo, that is some shit, bro. You know what I mean? So people talk about like their job, and same for law enforcement. There are guys who've been in law enforcement for 25 years, but and no offense, because there's honor in every service. But when people go, yeah, been a cop for 20 years, I'm like, but where though? You know, you know what I mean? Oh, okay. Well, nice. So you were a cop for 20 years in a city in North America that is periodically ranked the safest place to live. Okay, great. You know what I mean? But like maybe some rookie, 6 months into a service into a badass place, like they may have seen and done some shit that may represent a lifetime for some people. So it's like there's no standard, man. Somebody tells me they're, a Navy SEAL. I'm like, okay, amazing. And then we can kind of talk about details, And it's like, okay, well, you know what? You're an amazing human being. You're clearly a physical specimen, but the thing that you're trying to teach is so detached from the thing that you think makes you qualified to teach it. I'm sorry. Sorry. Who am I? You guys know what I'm saying? I hope you guys feel me. You know what I mean? There's something to learn from everybody. And the part of being able to distinguish what you can actually learn from somebody else is if you know your damn self. Is the only way. The path that I took, man, is a path of insecurity and silence because I didn't think I had a voice. Who the hell am I? I'm a Filipino Canadian immigrant with no combat experience. I smoke weed. I do psychedelics now and then. I'm a father of two. I sit at a desk at my home and make videos. Like, how am I qualified to share anything with anybody? You know what I mean? I was never a combat sport athlete. I came into it late, but now I like to compete in Filipino martial arts. Right? I'm quite open with that. But again, if I were to be judged on paper, I probably wouldn't learn from me. I'd be like, who's that hippie? Screw that guy. He's got a dope tattoo and everything, and he wears a headband. Looks like he knows what he's doing. Maybe not. Maybe not. And just the same, be unimpressed. Be unimpressed by people's resumes. Take it into consideration, but resumes can be manufactured. They can be exaggerated. And yeah, so be careful with that stuff. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. At this point, we're just chilling out. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Maybe I'll go through my book. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know if you want to help me out, man. And the thing is, this isn't revolutionary stuff, man. It's not revolutionary. It's just I'm curating parts and pieces of things in my travels, and I'm like, again, I'm like that FBI agent who's trying to track down a serial killer, right? And I'm just putting lines of attachment between two seemingly, separate events, but there's something that ties them together. That's what I'm doing. And as far as that's concerned, I don't really know anybody who is more qualified than me, to be honest. If I can call that a qualification, that I've been welcomed into so many circles that are private or semi-private and friggin' diverse all around the world, so I don't know. Like I said, I've been everywhere. I've explored, from the highest levels of professional combat sports to, hitmen and criminals in Southeast Asia, to law enforcement and military professionals from all around the world, regular force, reserve force, special force, forces that are like black and you kind of don't really even hear about them. Traditional martial artists from all walks of life, friggin', combatives, uh, traditional martial arts. Um, I've been around, you know, not to say that I'm any good at any of those things, but like I said, I'm not really doing anything other than drawing string from one world to another and going, hey, there's a bridge here. There's something about Pikiti Tersha Kali that is very similar in nature to Jiu-Jitsu. But if you don't know how much weight that bridge can bear, you can fall right off. Let's talk about games. Games, huge part of the codification of my system. And let me tell you why games are important in skill development, okay? Because with games, you can relieve some of the seriousness of training, but also depending upon how well you cultivate your community, games can have an element of competition. And what is competition but an element that eradicates complacency, collaboration? How many times I've seen how many times I've seen like figureheads of systems be like, "Oh, he was really trying to stab me." I'm like, "No, bro. That's your number one student. He's been with you for 20 years. I can tell you he wasn't really trying to stab you." Okay? So anyways, if you play games and you compose games really, really well, here we go. Let me read this. Games. I haven't read this in a while. Games. Not all games are drills. Some drills can be games. One more time. Games. This is games as far as playing fun little things you do, some things that you might do at a kids class. By the way, anyone who teaches a kids class, those are some of the best. Like, take those games and let adults play them. They're great stuff. They're great. Trust me. Some people are like, oh, we hide the fact that it's a knife and then we use this, and I'm like, bro, adults should be playing that game. Adults should be playing games. Period. Period. Let me get an amen for that. Adults should be playing games. They're too serious. So, what I wrote here is not all games are drills, but some drills can be games. Feel that. Next one. What did I write here? Games. Oh, come on, audio. What the hell? I wrote here games can liberate us from specific actions while working on developing the physical and mental skills that support the execution of those actions. Oh, I like that. And I use Pikiti Tersha as an example because some Pikiti Tersha teachings are just so rigid. Oh, God. Games can liberate us from specific actions, right? Or from the demands of specific actions while working on developing physical and mental skills to support those actions. Great. I like that. Games must supplement direct action drills. What the hell did I mean by that? Games must supplement direct action drills. Oh, I see. I see here. I see here. I see it. What do you guys think that means? What do you think? Oh my God. Okay. What do you think I mean to say when I say games must supplement direct action drills? Go ahead. I'll wait. Hey, what's up? What's up, brother? I appreciate your vulnerability, courage, and authenticity and compassion of your expression here on this platform. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. I'm here to help, man. You move friggin' amazing. Yeah. Roberto Pagan probably is one of the best PTK movement icons out there. Just, you want to look at If you just want to look at PTK and how certain actions are supposed to look, right? And if you can extrapolate knowledge from just watching how something is supposed to look, right? Not that that's enough, because I can't, I can never move or look like, Roberto Pagan when it comes to PTK. His movement is so crisp. But if you can learn from just visually watching somebody move, yeah, just look at this guy. He's great. What's this? Martial arts anthropologist. Sounds fancy. Kali combat systems. Various sparring games can help build skills. Yeah, 1000%. And again, when we call it a game and it's not sparring, it's not a match. And if you are the kind of instructor who has the ability to like really allow your students to be able to shed their ego and to take risks and make mistakes and lose, games are a great way to do that, because you can laugh at your failures. You know what I mean? So games must supplement direct action drills. This means, guys, you can't just play games. The totality of training cannot just be all games, because then we lose touch with what we're actually trying to do. So you got to supplement the games that you play with the direct action or the direct transferability drills that the games are helping you supplement as far as attributes are concerned. Game. Oh, look, somebody already wrote this, but games are a precursor to sparring. So right on point. You got it. Who wrote that? I was teaching an after-school program. I was teaching after school, but I was told I wasn't allowed to teach weapons. But when I made pool noodles like lightsabers and called it Jedi training, yeah. To be honest, some adults need that, man, because they're like, yeah, knife. No, we're just being Jedis, okay? I got a buddy, Tim Vanden Heuvel, who runs like a lightsaber organization, and those guys are fucking badasses, man. They spar really well. So yes, games are precursors to sparring, 1000%. What else did I write here? Games enhance mental agility and decision making under healthy types of stress. Games enhance mental agility and decision making under healthy types of stress. Yeah, when it's like when you're allowed to lose, and losing doesn't mean like, oh, you've died and your wife and kid has been murdered because you were unable to secure your grip. It's like, that's a little too heavy for training, hombre. Can't we just play a game where we're trying to catch each other's wrists? You guys know what I'm saying, right? It's like some guys are like, all right, this guy's going to try to stab you if you do not catch that wrist. And if you cannot hold on to it, your wife is dead. Your children don't have a father. And I'm just like, bruh, how about I just try to catch his wrist and hold on to it? Like, can we not attach all those things? Like, I mean, not to say that we completely detach those things. I was having a conversation with Mike about this from Mike's Combatives group. And he was talking about how, sometimes in training, people are too cavalier about receiving cuts. And I'm like, bro, I think there's a healthy reasoning for that. I think there's a healthy reason to sometimes not imagine the pool noodle or the water bottle as an actual knife. I'm not saying lose detachment. I'm just saying that in a training environment, for the purposes of risk taking in a training environment, and risk taking allows us opportunities to learn and fail and make mistakes and explore. For those reasons, let's take some risks. You know what I mean? Because that's the way that we're going to cover as many of these potentialities as possible, because this shit is unpredictable and chaotic, right? So let's chill a little bit, and maybe it's catch the water bottle. A water bottle meaning, how a crunched up water bottle is sometimes like the best training knife you can get. You just take a water bottle, scrunch it up, like that's a training knife, because you can actually try to stab somebody or motion. You know what I mean? So Games enhance mental agility and decision making under healthy types of stress, gamified stress, trying to win a game, right? So, okay, I failed in catching your wrists. Can my wife still be alive and my kids still have a dad? Like I think there's an allure sometimes for people who teach knife defense and knife arts to take people into like really, really dark places and keep them there. I think that's stupid. I think that's completely, completely irrational and unhealthy. And sometimes people walk away from those things like, oh man, that was an eye opener. I'm like, homie, you've been learning knife for like 15 years, and only now did you think that maybe this knife cuts meat like that? I'm like, come on, bro. I think you should definitely conduct your own cutting tests. I think that's important. Just take whatever knife you carry, go buy some pork butt, wrap it up in some jeans, and then cut it. See what your knife does to it. You need to attend a seminar, somebody show you the reality of the knife. Just as you don't need anybody to keep you in dark places as they're trying to teach you skill sets. And that's part of my mandate. It's not my job. It's not my job to friggin' tell you how grave this is. I'm just trying to get you to catch that friggin' wrist, bro, and hold on to it. you know, Bring it all together when you get home with your camo pants, homies. Okay. Sorry. I'm just having fun with this. Another thing I wrote here is oh god, I went ahead of myself, but this is exactly what I'm trying to say. I wrote here, keep score even if only in your mind, right? So you kind of keep score, you keep account of when you were caught, and then do a little self audit. Be like, okay. And it's not like, oh my God, I got killed 8 times and, who's going to pay for my mortgage and my wife doesn't have a husband and my kids are orphans. It's not that, keep score, meaning, again, going back, maybe I failed at catching that wrist and holding on to it. Keep score is like, okay, man, I need to work on my grip strength. I need to work on my timing. I need to work on controlling that retraction. I need to work on honing my ability to identify pre attack indicators, and so on and so on. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, man. Oh, this is great. Oh, man, there's a lot to go over. These are the details. I'm writing it down. I've been writing it down. I'm exploring the hard drives and I'm watching old videos. And I'm thank God also for Facebook memories. It brings me back to 5 years ago, 6 years ago, last year, and I read the things that I wrote and the things that I shared, and I can really plot down like, oh, I see where I made a U-turn. I made a 180 from this opinion into this next one, and then I searched that area. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I trained that got me there. So, what is this? Do you think karaoke is important to learning knife fighting? Yeah, it's the most important thing. That was an FMA joke. I've sparred with some of the lightsaber groups. They're pretty good on par with a lot of FMA guys. Yeah, sometimes better. A lot of the FMA guys don't spar, bro. And again, the reason a lot of the FMA guys don't spar is that ego, is that they don't have an outlet for healthy competition. And so they stick with the collaborative practices and the biased pressure testing without ever stepping outside of their inbreeding circle. And so they're not able to identify where their genetic shortcomings are. You like these analogies, man? Anyway, what do you want? What do you want, Kai? What do you mean what? Okay, Kelly comment. One of our warm-ups is we do defang the snake with acu strikes, and if you cut, you have to do push-ups. I mean, that's cool, but why? Why do push-ups? I mean, it's good exercise, but it's you're giving a penalty for making a mistake in training, right? And there's a time and place for that. There's a time and place, really. And the biggest penalty you can give somebody is to get them to think about why the hell and how they made that mistake. You don't need to be like, okay, I'm going to give you, 10 push-ups because you got cut in the wrist. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why this is problematic, right? Because they're going to do things to avoid getting cut on the wrist, to avoid the push-ups. You know what I mean? And that may not sound like such a bad thing, but maybe the thing that gets them, you know, into the right position, into the right angle, into the right opportunity to be able to, survive that, puts them at risk to getting their, wrist cut. And anyway, it's just my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, right? To have these like, oh, you dropped your stick, you owe me 20 push-ups. I just think as adults, we're not in the friggin' military. We're not, it's not a real consequence, Oh no, I dropped my stick. Like, yeah, I gotta do 20 push-ups now, or somebody cut my hand. Now I gotta do 30 sit-ups. Maybe. Maybe. Could be fun. Could be fun, but it's like, again, I think it's an inefficiency, right? So if you're doing, your training and you're trying to defang the snake and you fail and you get punished for it. I don't think it's necessary. What are your thoughts on multiple the tech with knives? Uh, I don't even know what that question means. What are your thoughts on multiple the tech with knives? You're gonna need to rewrite that. I have no idea. Yeah, sparring is a thing. For sure, sparring is a thing. And again, a lot of people don't spar because they're like, you can develop bad habits. You're wearing a mask and you're not having the pain penalty and you're not respecting the blade. So I don't want to make those mistakes, so I won't spar. And it's like, okay, tell me again how you're going to develop precision, accuracy, timing, fight IQ. How are you actually going to develop your ability to identify pre-attack indicators? How are you going to actually get into moments that are so unexpected that you're going to need to work your way out of if you don't subject yourselves to sometimes the chaos of sparring? Some of the crap, Kai, you know this, man. Some of the crap that happens in sparring, you couldn't have replicated that in a million years if you had a billion years to live and think about it. Some things happen in sparring where you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Awesome. Now we can reverse engineer that and identify if that's actually an important thing to continue to refine or not. Maybe it was an anomaly and I'm glad I survived it and I did the right thing, or holy crap, I did the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? I believe he's talking about Mass Attack. Oh yeah, so much is made about like, dealing with multiple attackers with a knife. So much is made about this. Uh, well, what can I say? Won't offend people who really focus on multiple attackers with a knife. I think when you train to deal with multiple attackers with a knife, I think it's more about the attributes that you learn in the practice rather than the specific context that you think you're preparing yourself for. Let me say that again. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, when you train with your knife with multiple attackers in mind, the benefit really is in the process, right? You're learning not to be task or weapon fixated. You're more aware of your peripheral. Um, you're learning specific footwork that allow you to change your angle of attention rapidly. But it's not really a reality that you're gonna have to fight multiple people with a knife. Uh, I mean, of course, every time I say stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, well, in Southeast Asia," I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I get it." Even in those places, it's not common, believe it or not. But sometimes, we watch a really compelling CCTV video, and maybe in a year we see, one or two of them. By the way, we don't know when they actually happen, and then we get this false sense that it's something that we need to prepare for. But and even then, people are constantly concerned about multiple attackers. It was actually I have to give credit where it's due. Ryan Hoover, who he's not the only one, but he was the first to go um to give me the idea that you're never fighting multiple attackers. You know what I mean? You're fighting one person at a time. You're not doing the Jean-Claude Van Damme split kick where you're kicking two people at once. You know what I mean? You're not doing that. You're fighting one person at a time. So focus on fighting one person at a time. And then in that training, right, you work on footwork, precision, timing, decision making under stress, your ability to read an environment, the evolving conditions, right? You fight one person at a time. A lot of the ways in which Filipino martial arts teaches multiple attackers is so fucking unrealistic. It's like cut, 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 turn around and cut, cut, cut. You know what I mean? It's cut, cut, cut here, and there's a guy from behind me. Cut, cut, cut. What do we know about what do we know about the resilience of the human body that allows us to transition from one target to another so quickly? It's not cut, cut, cut. Okay, he's finished. I'm gonna address this guy, and this guy is no longer a threat. No, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? So a lot of I see this a lot. I see this a lot. Filipino martial arts is about multiple attackers. So I'm like, bang, 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 boom, bang. They don't fall down like that, homie. You know what I mean? So no, I don't. And do what you will. All right. Like I said, there is value in training for multiple targets, but the value comes from the process and the methodology, and it's not like a replication of what actually happens. And even if you watch knife attacks with multiple opponents, just go pay attention to what actually happens. It's all coming from one friggin' direction. It's all coming from in front of you, and there's multiple people coming from in front of you. It's not like you're getting flanked like you think, that happens in Kill Bill. I mean, it doesn't really go down like that from what I've seen anyway. And anytime there's been a multiple attacker and an edged weapons engagement, it's usually like one gang over the other. And it's never like a melee. It's like this gang from this side of the street and versus this gang, and they're doing this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? That's what we see. So the target is always going to be in front of you, right? Anyway. But there is a value in training for multiple attackers, even in that classical way, because, like, again, you're exposing yourself to different kinds of like footwork models that allow you to go 180 rapidly while attacking. That's good shit. But you're not. I mean, again, I'm sorry, man. I hate to bust people's bubbles, right? Like, yeah, FMA makes the assumption that there's multiple attackers, but I think people take that too literally. The value of that isn't that we're preparing for this scenario. It's that we're building attributes that lend itself to like supreme mobility and awareness. Ain't nobody get into that kind of fight. Anyway, because if you are, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, mass attack. Yeah. Usually, to be honest, when it comes to knife and mass attack, it's usually one guy doing the mass attack on innocent civilians. It's usually the guy with a knife who is the bad guy. and they go into a school or like a market and they're attacking multiple people. There's a singular attacker and multiple targets. Let's be real. That's far more common than a guy with a knife defending himself from multiple bad guys. The guy with a knife is the bad guy. It's true. Absolutely correct. The sparring allowed me to understand what kind B of fight or flight type person I may be. I don't know about that, Kai. I don't know. I mean, the fight or flight response. I think we like to think that we can train to control it, but it depends on the threat, doesn't it? We all like to think that we won't freeze, that we will flee appropriately or fight appropriately, but it depends on the threat and the condition. It really does. And the danger, I think, in assuming that we're going to react one way or another is, that we're going to be caught off guard regardless. But I just don't think. I think sparring can sometimes teach you about resilience. Like when somebody kicks you hard and you keep fighting through it. I think it can teach you a lot about those things. But I hesitate to draw a conclusion about whether I'm a fight or flight or freeze guy, you know? And I question that sparring can give us a reliable conclusion as to what kind of person that we're going to be. I've spoken to a lot of, veterans, and sometimes the big bad tattooed bearded guy who is gung ho, like that's the guy in the fetal position pissing himself in a firefight. Um, so you just never know, man. I don't know. Maybe. I think we like to believe. We want to believe. We should believe that we will flee when appropriate. We will fight when we have to, and that we won't ever freeze. But I just don't know. I can't say that. I don't know. Eddie, when you cut someone, he won't fall right away, so you can move to the next one. It's true, man. It's true. And then the way we train multiple attackers again in Filipino martial arts is bang, 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 guy behind, bang, bang, bang. You know, so it's kind of it's a little dangerous. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyway, Kali, in my opinion, is the real deal. Or Kai. You want to prove your theoretical tactic strategy of the system, studying committed to, and spar and fight Kai. A loving man he is. Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of I've met a lot of guys who are always ready to spar, but very few like Kai who just enjoys the process so much. The guy whistles and he just enjoys the process. Yeah, very good opponent. Really, really tough opponent too. Always a good time. I'm scared of you, bro. I'm scared of your kicks, Kai. And next time we spar, no kicking allowed. Actually, the last time we sparred, we're like, okay, no, under Kai, bro, no kicks. And then I didn't kick him, but I showed that I was about to, and he's like, oh, okay. Next class, sure enough, dude kicks me. And the pelvic girdle and bends me over. That's beautiful. Anyway, yo, I'm done, man. This is an hour and a half. So thank you for listening. Really, the bulk of my intention was to just air it out, just to so that I have a timestamp of when I talked about this stuff and what my insecurities are about beginning to codify and collaborating with people to help me codify what I've learned. And what my current insecurities are about if I codify a process and where I think the shortcomings and pitfalls might be if I codify a process. Yeah, that's it. But I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be fun. I think, but again, like I said earlier, I do risk that, I codify and I present it, and it is a system that I already know is very easily stolen, and I have to come to terms with that. I have to come to terms that, because a lot of the elements that I talked about, like I said, isn't necessarily innovative, but the specific way that I curate them and the process with which I bring them all together can be unique, you know, but nothing terribly innovative. It's just a methodology. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me. I mean, it means a lot. I don't think there's any more of this stuff that I can share that would really make sense. Task, purpose, focus. Oh, I have an entire segment called it's called it's called Sabayan But. Yeah, it's called Sabayan But. I'll give you all the types of Sabayan. So there's Sabayan types here. You guys can take a screenshot of that if you want in the future. Oh, it's blurring it out. Oh, it's blurring it out. You'll never know. Okay, Sabayan but static. Sabayan, by the way, is the mother drill of Pikiti Tersha, otherwise known as Kol de Mama. It has elements of hubad. It sometimes looks like sombrada, tappy tappy. It's that kind of drill. Really simple at its base, infinitely variable, and entirely up to the practitioners as to how they regulate intent, intensity, speed, power, aggression, telegraphy, choreography. So that's the Sabayan drill. And then I break down each of these, but these are the categories. Sabayan but static. What value can we learn from doing this drill static? Sabayan tapping energy, Sabayan sticky, Sabayan fast and sloppy. Like purposefully, we do Sabayan fast and sloppy. And then there's Sabayan but fast and technical, Sabayan but aggressive, Sabayan but slow and technical, Sabayan but slow and lulling, Sabayan but empty hand. And then there's dynamic, there's blind Sabayan, there's short and long weapons and combined weapons for Sabayan, there's projectile Sabayan. There's anyway, we take a very basic, simple drill and we actually extrapolate and we give a process for exploration. Outcast drills, alarm clock modifiers. It's just needs to be simplified. All right, homies. I appreciate your time. Thank you for whether or not you were here at the beginning, middle, if you just jumped in and jumped out. Thank you. This is more for me. So I have a reference point for when I continue to hash these concepts out. So thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't even play like the dopest. What's it called? FMA podcast intro. I'll play it at the end. Oh my god, I have all of these things.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, I need to use this.
We need to launch a full federal investigation into why and how this happened. Who allowed this?
I don't know why I don't use this stuff. This is great.
Tell me you did not just say that.
Oh, Coach Danny Terrell was in the house. Different lines of attack. What was that in reference to? Anyway, we can get into it. But in any case, yeah, I'm gonna need some help codifying all this crap that I've learned. I have an idea. I have a vision. I have a framework, I have a blueprint, but like, geez. And then once it's codified, I'm gonna need some help from people. So I think I'm gonna select some people who have training groups, right? And I'm gonna be like, hey, can you help me out? Run this drill for me, or run this game for me, or present this idea in this way, and then play this game. And then just some honest feedback would really help me out. But let's be detailed about it. I need to know who's there, what their background is, and blah 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 blah, so we can get some real data. And then I guess over time we'll develop together like a value system for these concepts, and then we can reprioritize and reorganize as needed. But I appreciate your help. There's so many people out there who have really made some serious contributions to my journey. And I was telling my buddy Mark about this the other day. It's like it becomes very difficult for me to give credit where credit is due, because like somebody might teach me something at the beginning of my journey and it doesn't click. And then somebody else teaches me the same concept in the middle of my journey, and then I begin to explore it. And then somebody else towards present teaches me the very same concept, and it finally all comes together. And then I may be inclined to teach the last point of contact or inspiration for that concept, and kind of forget who my first exposure was and who my second exposure was. And so I don't want to ever like dishonor anybody. There's a lot of people who have shared with me a lot of things, and I try my best to credit those people, and to give credit where it's due. But you can imagine in my position where I travel a lot and I talk to a lot of people and I test a lot and I collaborate a lot, that it becomes very difficult really to be accurate with giving credit or acknowledgement. But just know that if you've shared anything with me, right? If we've had even just one discussion that you felt and I felt was like profound and meaningful, I'm very thankful for that, and maybe you'll get mad at me one day because I didn't give you credit where you feel you may have deserved it. And if that's the case, let's just have a conversation about it, because again, a lot of people share a lot of things with me, and I'm constantly changing who I am and shifting training focuses. So yeah, that's a difficulty that I have, that I foresee also. It's like people are going to be like, Paulo stole that from me and he didn't give me credit, or I taught him that and he's saying that guy taught him that. Let's not, I hope it doesn't get there, but it's just another one of these things that I foresee. So this is another timestamp of me saying that and expressing that and being like, I'm so grateful for anybody who has given me their time, their energy, their passion, their knowledge, their wisdom, and shared it with me, right? And I'm constantly reevaluating and I'm constantly changing. And so yeah, the things that you taught me 5 years ago may have been pragmatically meaningless to me now, but they still have value to me as far as relationships go. So thank you guys. This has been awesome. Oh my God, I need to stretch and like have a smoke after this. I feel like I really expelled a lot of what was kind of on my mind on this Sunday as we face the work week. I hope you guys have had a great weekend. I hope you guys got to train and reflect and express your gratitude for this martial arts journey, whatever art that you're doing. Especially if you're making a living out of it, or you're supplementing your income from something that you're passionate about, just know that that's very rare in this life. It's very rare that you can have some real world benefit. Maybe you do a Zoom lesson and you got $50, and that's amazing, you guys. That's above and beyond what most martial artists ever get to do. So if you can monetize your craft in even small ways, and then you take that benefit and you put it towards something good or something joyful, maybe a dinner, maybe you like bunnies and you buy a new bunny, right? If it came out of what you're passionate about, what you love, that's amazing. Super grateful for that. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. This is the longest goodbye ever, but for real this time. For real, for real. Peace.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished! No!
Get up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh,
Get up. Get up.